Thank you. She's also not fired, but I'm. Good evening and welcome to the Scarborough School Board business meeting. The date is Thursday, March 19th, 2026. Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Ray, can we call the attendance, please?
Yes. Miss Jacobs,
Here.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes, here. Miss or Mr.
Miss Lindstrom,
Here.
Miss Mauer,
Here.
Mr. Rockenstein.
Here.
Ms. Tarpanian,
Here.
Ms. Trapani Huff,
Here.
Ms. Ruskina, and Ms. Claret.
All right, thank you so much. Agenda item 1.4 is the February 26, 2026 workshop and business board minutes. If there are no objections, we will approve them as presented. All right, thank you so much. Agenda item 2.0 are adjustments to the agenda. Are there any adjustments this evening?
None.
Great, thank you so much. Agenda item 3.0 are recognitions. 3.1 is a staff spotlight award recipient. So for this, we'll turn it over to Charlotte.
Thank you. For our March 2026 Staff Spotlight Award, the winner is Emma Dickinson. And the person that nominated her is Nicole Johnson. Emma Dickinson works at Pleasant Hill as a K-2 special education teacher, and she started in the district in 2019 as an ed tech and has been a teacher since 2023. And then if Nicole wanted to come up and say a few words about Emma. Yeah, right there.
I just wanted to say, so I've worked with Emma for, it's been a long time, I don't know how long, maybe 8 years. We started out as ed techs together at Eight Corners. I've watched Emma become a teacher, and we've remained friends throughout, and I was really happy to be able to get to work right across the hall from her over at Pleasant Hill, which is where we are now. And I think the thing that I'm impressed most with Emma about is her advocacy for the kids. She literally makes sure every kid gets exactly what they need, and she will have meeting upon meeting to make sure that they're getting what they need. And in special education, I just think she's such a valuable part of our team. She's a master scheduler, which I appreciate because she definitely helps me with that because that is not a strong suit for me. But just getting to work with her has been a real gift, and she's amazing. And I feel really lucky to call her my friend.
Thank you, Nicole. And then we have some videos from two of your colleagues sharing some really nice things about you as well.
Okay. Yay, Emma. I'm so excited for you. Emma is just a great advocate for the kids, for us ed techs. She's wonderful to work with. She's so organized and just kind to everyone she knows. Yay!
Hi, I'm Gigi Stone, speech therapist at Pleasant Hill School, and I am so excited to hear that Emma Dickinson was chosen for the Spotlight Award. Emma is a great educator who's always looking towards inclusion, a team player, and children love working with her, and we love working with Emma. Congratulations, Emma. Very well deserved.
And Emma, I have an award and a gift for you if you wanted to come up. We welcome you to say a few words if you want to as well.
Cheryl's like, I don't want to get a picture.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the greatest public speaker, but I feel really grateful to work in such an amazing school district, and to just have the support. I see Mr. Rhodey and Nicole, so just to have their support throughout my journey of becoming an educator, has been really important to me. So yeah, thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Congratulations. All right, agenda item 3.2 is the Scarborough High School Winter Athletics recognition. So for this, we'll invite Michael Gage. I thought I saw him. Yeah. Oh, here he is. There he is. Rising from the back like a phoenix.
Well, good evening. Thank you for having us. And we'll get right to it with having our coaches come up and present how their seasons went. This winter, we'll start with Coach Leverrier from competition cheering.
Hello, everyone. I'm Caitlin Leverrier, the head coach of cheer. This is Katie Reed, our assistant coach. And with us tonight, we have our seniors, Lorelai and Aoife. Thank you for having us tonight, and to our athletics department for their constant support of our student athletes throughout the season. The Scarborough Red Storm varsity cheer team had an incredible season filled with growth, resilience, and success. They earned first place at the Snowflake Virtual for a second year in a row, placed second at Rampage, SMAAs, and regionals, and finished as Class A state runners-up, qualifying us for the New England Championship for the second year in a row. More importantly, this team showed what it means to be accountable, supportive, and committed to something bigger than themselves. Their success was built through hard work, trust, and the way they showed up for one another every day, both on and off the mat. We are so proud of the standard that this team continues to represent at Scarborough, and we cannot wait to take on New England's this Saturday. Thank you.
Unified basketball, Coach McCormick.
Hi, I'm Albert McCormick. I'm the head unified basketball coach. This is one of my wonderful teammates or team members, Everett Devonish. Very thankful that he accepted my invitation to come up and stand alongside me as I talk to you guys. Our unified year was another huge success. We've got an awesome giant team. One of the big changes with this year, which is remarkable, is that we've had to develop a partner application process in order to manage all the interest for Unified. I think that just goes to show how big of an impact it has on our student body and how many kids want to be part of it. And so it's kids like Everett on the team that you know attract so many wonderful, awesome kids to become part of Unified. We had a wonderful season, lots of wins, lots of successes, lots of individual successes, lots of dance parties at halftime, just like that. And you know, we've been thrilled to have some wonderful characters on the team, just like Everett. So we are looking to many more years, and we're inching our way towards the bocce season, which would be another success, I'm sure.
And Coach Watson with wrestling.
Hi, I'm Coach Benny Watson, and I coach the Scarborough-Gorham Cooperative Wrestling Team. The 2025-26 wrestling season found us much success. We finished our team dual meet record at 4-18, which was only one win shy of tying my single season best of 5 wins. since taking over the program in 21-22. However, a combined 16 points separated us from 2 more total team wins, and we dropped a heartbreaker the last duel of the season to perennial powerhouse Marshwood, which only speaks to the progress we're making towards becoming a more competitive team. Lola Vance from Gorham High School placed second at the girls-only state tournament in Belfast and Noble. She finished second at the states and was the first female in program history to qualify for the New England Championships. She was also second team all-conference, and we qualified 4 athletes for the state tournament, which was the most we've ever qualified in my tenure. And probably the highlight of the season for me as a coach was that we won our 2nd consecutive sportsmanship award for Class A South. And that, just speaks to what we aim to produce as young student athletes in our community. Thank you.
Boys basketball, Coach Conley couldn't be here tonight, so he sent me this to read for you. So this is about the boys basketball season. First, I'd like to thank the school board for its continued support of our student athletes at Scarborough High School. I'd also like to recognize Ms. Legage along with the Athletic and Activities Department for their hard work and ongoing dedication. Our team had a very successful season both on and off the court. We entered the Class A South tournament as the number 8 seed and went on to upset the number 1 seed in the quarterfinal round. Our season concluded in the Final Four, where we competed in a very close game against Cheverus. Individually, we had 2 players earn all SMAA honors. Carter Blanche was named to the 2nd team and Adam Fitzgerald to the 3rd team. Both Carter and Adam were also selected for the MABC Senior All-Star team. In addition, Carter received the Gary Randall Award, which recognizes outstanding citizenship and sportsmanship as voted on by the SMAA coaches. We are especially proud to have had 3 players named to the Maine Association of Basketball Coaches All-Academic Team: Carter Blanche, Reed Thorell, and Leighton Garapi. This honor is awarded, if I messed up any of those names, I'm sorry. It's the pronunciation, I mean. This honor is awarded to just 12 student athletes across all classes in the state, making it an exceptional achievement. As a coach, I'm incredibly proud of these young men for representing our program with such excellence in the classroom and in our community. So that was boys basketball from Coach Conley. He may be watching, so it was a good clap. He was out ill today. Coach Giordano is next, and I think we're going to promote him virtually. Coach Giordano goes to Florida in the off season, so he's joining us from there. So I'll let Coach Giordano go ahead.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to join this meeting virtually this evening. I'm fortunate to spend time with my wife in Florida in the spring and in the fall, and that's where we are now. I will refuse to tell you what the temperature is. First, I'd like to thank my support team, my support system, which is Mr. Legage and all the fine people in the athletic director's office, how they help us with all the administrative pieces to make our season go the way it's supposed to go. And it allows me and my coaching staff to spend more time with the kids, getting them ready to prepare to play. This year, we added a strong freshman class of 10 young ladies, helping to boost our numbers. And now our numbers are somewhere in the average of what girls basketball in our class is in Southern Maine. Our season was, we had a record of 7 wins and 11 losses. We qualified for the MPA Southern A tournament as the 9th seed. We struggled this year with consistent play, but to the credit to the girls, they continue to give their best effort every day, and you wouldn't know that by their effort. The girls hear me say this all the time. You truly, your true personality comes out when things aren't going well or when you're having to deal with adversity. High school athletics allow student athletes to learn an awful lot about themselves. And I think we did just that this year. Our loss in the tournament was one of our best games that we played all year. It was a 1 or 2 point game with 3 or 4 minutes left, and we ended up losing to Gorham, and that was the end of our season. We had one SMA All-Star honorable mention. That was junior Eva Alvarez. We placed 3 of our 4 seniors on the SMAA All-Academic team, and the team combined GPA was a 92.71. We graduate 4 seniors and 1 manager, and we wish them well in everything they do in the future. The future is bright for Scarborough girls basketball with a strong 8th grade class coming in. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Coach Worsing with boys ice hockey.
Good evening. My name is Eric Worsing, head coach for the varsity Scarborough hockey program. I'm joined here by CJ LaBelle, one of our senior captains. First, I would like to thank Mr. Legage in the athletic office. This is my 5th year with the program, and it's really been an honor and privilege to coach here in the Scarborough community. This season, one of the things that we really try to do is establish a strong culture in our locker room and for our program. This past summer, the boys read the book, Hard Hat, and it's about committing to being a great teammate. In that book, there are 21 principles that we went through daily in our practices. And as we concluded those principles, the players as a team decided on 5 things that we would bring to every practice, every game, and every time that we were together. And more importantly, things that they would bring outside the rink and locker room to their classrooms and the community. They were, don't complain, well done is greater than well said, never take a play off, share positive and contagious energy, and love your team. Judging by those commitment to those principles, we finished with the best record that we've had in my 5 years here, a 10-7-1 record, and a 4th place finish in Class A. That included tightly contested games with the Class A state finalists, Cheverus and Thornton Academy. Cheverus we lost to 1-0 in overtime, and Cheverus we lost to 2-0. We also defeated York Biddeford, who ended up winning the Class B state championship. We were also one of the top teams, not only in Class A, but in the state in our penalty killing, which was at 94%. And we allowed the fifth least goals allowed in the state as well. On top of that, we also had 4 all-state selections, which was the first most that I've had in my tenure here. CJ, Kyle Gambardella, and Nick Harmon were all 2nd team. And then our goaltender, Bryce Bellarose, was 1st team all-state. Overall, we had a great season. We fell short of our victory, which is always to compete for a state championship and put ourselves at Cross Insurance. Unfortunately, we fell short this year, but it's hardly a disappointment between the effort and the commitment that these boys made to being great teammates, which will hopefully lead to being great people as they leave Scarborough High School. Thank you.
I would like to mention something about our girls ice hockey program. We have a girls hockey program that is combined with Scarborough and Falmouth. We're not the home school for that. Falmouth is actually the home school, but the Scarborough Falmouth girls hockey program is a cooperative team between Scarborough and Falmouth with 9 Scarborough athletes contributing to a 15-player roster. The team had a strong season, finishing 5-10-3 and earning the 5th seed in the MPA tournament. They earned a playoff win over the Portland Co-op team in the quarterfinals before falling to the Cheverus Yarmouth Co-op team in the semifinals. Cheverus Yarmouth went on to win the state championship. Hope Malvisky and Alex Serban were both recognized with SMA All-Conference honors. That's a little bit about the girls' ice hockey program as well. Okay, the next one is girls indoor track with Coach Curry.
Good evening. I have Laurel Driscoll and Isabella Harmon with me. You've seen them here before. They're the captains and they're our seniors. They had a great season. They led our team in the locker room or in the hallway, I should say. And and at meets, their goal was to win another state championship before they graduated. So not only did they do that, they were all on the all academic team. All our senior girls were. We had a season of 20 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. That was our regular season record, and we went on to win the SMAA championship and then went on to win the state championship. It was going to be a tough one, but we ended up winning like by 25 points thanks to these two. These two scored over half our points and could have come in 4th in the state meet alone. So they're quite a duo. So we are going to miss them. But we have some really good freshmen coming up. Our junior division really went well. They also broke some school records that they'll have in the books too. So I'd like to thank our athletic director and the department they're great with getting us to a lot of USM practices now. So they have more effective practices, which really helps our season. So that's been great. So they are looking forward to outdoor. Thank you.
And boys indoor track with Coach Fayou.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. Congratulations to all the teams and especially the girls on winning the state championship. I think either the boys and girls have won a state championship in track every year back to 2015. So it's quite a run we're on. So congratulations to all the coaches that are involved in that. We share a lot of the same coaches for the individual events. So a lot of success there. The boys this year, our record wasn't really indicative of what we had on the team. We had a lot of injuries and our numbers were down a little bit this year. The first meet was a 7-team meet, so 8-team meet, and we got last place. So, but after that, we went 8 and 6. So we got better throughout the season. We had some good young kids coming up, distance runners, and we returned a lot coming back, a strong junior class. So we were working kind of towards next year. The kids that were at practice every day were working hard and advancing themselves. And we saw that on the track with personal best and throughout the whole season. Our goal after the Southwesterns, unfortunately, our best athlete was sick. And so, when you lose a lot of those points, it's going to be tough to score when you don't have a team that's full of stars like we've had in the past. So we set our goal coming into the state meet to try to score more points and at least improve on our positioning. We didn't meet the points, but we did score 14th in the state meet, which was 2 points higher than we did in the conference. So a lot of success there, and that was good to see. School record wise, we did have one Atticus Merriam in the 600. We had some all-conference winners. 4x8 relay did win the conference championship, but that was Noel Heath, Colin Anderson, Jose Bencomo, and Damian Meisner. And that earned them first team all-conference. Atticus Merriam was also first team all-conference in the 2 mile, and the 3rd team in the 600. All academic, Jose Bencomo, Eddie Knutson, and Nolan Meyer. So it was great to see the athletes doing well in the classroom as well. That relay qualified for New England's along with Atticus in the mile. And at the New England's, Atticus had his best race of the season. He was only 5th in the state championship, but 6th in New England in the mile to earn all New England honors. So that was great to see. Looking forward to these young kids developing and coming back, finishing strong next year. Thank you.
Okay, swimming. Coach Gerard couldn't be here this evening, so she sent me this to read. I'd like to recognize the Athletic Activities Department for their continued dedication, hard work, and supporting our student athletes and coaches. Despite a transition in coaching staff this season with swimming, we had a strong and successful year, finishing with a 5-3 record. Athletes demonstrated significant growth throughout the season, with many swimmers, both new and returning, achieving personal best times across multiple events. This progress resulted in 14 state qualifiers, an increase of 2 from last year. At the Southwestern Championship meet, the team earned 16 top 8 finishes, with the boys placing 6th and the girls placing 5th overall. At the state championship meet, swimmers achieved 11 top 8 finishes, leading to a 4th place finish for the boys and a 10th place finish for the girls. Overall, the swim program continues to embody education-based athletics where growth, commitment, and character development define success. This season reflected resilience through a coaching transition and strong overall performance. So that's the swim program. The alpine skiing. Scarborough and Gorham are combined for alpine skiing. Coach Burns is our Scarborough coach for that, and she couldn't be here this evening, so she left this for me to read. The Scarborough girls alpine ski team placed 5th out of more than 20 teams. Lena Asali, did I say that right? Finished 10th in the GS and 7th in the slalom, while Claire Frary placed 4th in the giant slalom and 6th in the slalom, while Leah Prairie competed in her final Maine high school skiing competition, and despite a fall in the giant slalom due to a lost ski, remained positive and demonstrated strong resilience. She followed with a strong slalom run, finishing in the top third of all competitors. Evie placed in the top 25 in slalom, and Rosa delivered consistent performance in both runs to help round out the team's scoring. These results came from a field of 97 athletes. On the boys' side, Emery Miller competed in his first state meet after just his second season in alpine racing and performed strongly, showing continued development and limited experience in new equipment. A special acknowledgement is also due to the Athletic and Activities Department, who continue to support, helps create meaningful and well-organized opportunities for our student athletes throughout the season. In line with the principles of education-based athletics, this season highlighted not only competitive achievement, but also resilience, adaptability, and personal growth. When day 1 of the state meet was canceled, reducing the competition to a single run, each in slalom and giant slalom, the athletes adjusted quickly and maintained focus despite this disruption. The team responded with maturity, positivity, and composure, reflecting the broader impact of high school athletics on student development beyond sports. So that's a little bit about the alpine ski team. Again, sorry if I messed up some of the last names. Did I miss anybody? Think so. So that's a little bit about our winter sports, and I not only proud of the kids that work really hard to balance both a rigorous academic schedule, but also athletics. A lot of credit to them, but the coaches too. Really proud of our coaching staff and the people that we have on board. And I think you heard about not just about wins and losses, but as I typically say often at these meetings, you heard about this kind of concept of education-based athletics and why participation in after-school activities are so vital to a holistic education. You heard about great things too, like sportsmanship banners with wrestling, and Coach Worsing's 21 points that he follows through with the students on. All those things that our coaches work hard to do provide those learning opportunities for our kids. And so I think those things are extremely important to our department and to what we're trying to do to support, that academic side of things as well. So I think it kind of works together for the kids. So proud of everybody with it. Any questions or? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kate, I always say that somehow your presentation aligns with this night, and one time there will be a student that stays to listen. It will happen. Yeah.
Well, you have
Exactly.
two. You have two that are staying.
This is true. This is true. All right, agenda item 4.0 are presentations, and 4.1 is our Blue Point School presentation. So for this, we'll invite Jillian Daigle up.
Yeah, we're really excited to have Jillian present tonight to share with you some highlights from Blue Point School.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to share with you some of the amazing things that have been happening at Blue Point. I became principal halfway through the year, so the beginning of my presentation is talking a little bit about some of the fun things that have been happening in second grade, which is where I was teaching at the time. Do I have control? There. Thank you. So one of the things I wanted to highlight was that we were able to welcome Mrs. Vafiatis into our second grade classrooms. She's the world language teacher at Wentworth, and she did an amazing job adapting her Spanish lessons for second grade learners. The kids loved it. The teachers loved it. I even walked away with a little Spanish myself. I was very proud. She did an amazing job, and we were really sad to see her go when she had to move on to the next elementary school. During Hour of Code, we were really lucky at Blue Point to be able to create our BBOT slides for the whole district, all the second grade students. So our IC coach, Miss Randall, came to us and asked us if we would like to create these. The students came up with the ideas all on their own. They made blueprints with their teammates. They passed them in to Miss Randall, and she was able to make the mats that you see here. They had math problems on their mats, tier 2 vocabulary words, and even a Spanish mat, which really was great to see them carry over their lessons with Miss Vafiatis. Some of the things we try to do is go out into the community as much as possible, and 2 of our field trips that we did this year was the second graders went to the public safety building where they were able to tour the fire department as well as the police station. They were really excited to see all the equipment that they use, to see the trucks that they have, and to tiptoe through the emergency call room where they got to see the cameras about the town. It was really neat to see. And then our first graders went to the Scarborough Public Library, and this was part of their unit on decoding tricky words. They discovered that they are word detectives, and they would get clues every day that they had to decode. And the last clue they received was actually an invitation to the big library. And I really wish that everybody could have been out in the hallway to hear their excitement when they realized they were able to go there to tour. And we were really excited for our readers to be able to go and do that. So it was really neat. We have a kindness corner in our school where we nominate students that are caught being kind. Staff members will nominate kids that they see, and the students don't know that they are nominated until their name is announced in the loudspeaker. And one of the things we did was we wanted to bring this to the community members. So when I became principal, we decided we need our community to see how kind our kids are. So we added our kindness corner to our family newsletter every Friday. And the students were really excited to be able to show their families the kind deeds that they did and to show off their picture every week. I also wanted to know the students more because I only knew the second graders. So I asked if I was able to come into people's classrooms to read a book to the kids and get to know their students more. And in true Blue Point fashion, everybody was very welcoming. They invited me right in. I was able to read a book to every class every month since I started. And it was a really great opportunity to get to know the students more and to be able to call each one by name, and so that they also knew me as well. And that being principal wasn't always a negative thing, but a positive thing. And I have many students that come visit me now to show off what they've learned and what they're working on. And I love that, being able to be that connection for them. We are celebrating reading the whole month of March. To kick off our reading month, we had what we call a reading train, where all the students stop what they're doing and come out into the hallway with their book boxes, and staff and students alike sit and read together. And I felt quite bad at the end of the 10 minutes when I had to stop them. They were so engaged in their reading, and we're going to plan to end our reading month doing the same thing. We also have a story walk at Blue Point. Not sure if anyone knows, but we had a lovely group of teachers who volunteered their time to put a story walk into our school. And we are now able to offer 2 books, one in the fall and one in the spring for families to come and tour. Right now we have Snow in the Jungle available for anyone that wants to see it. It's located on our upper playground, and we love being able to take the students outside to be able to tour that with their classmates as well. So as I had mentioned before, we find community to be really important, but not just outside community, but the community within our building. So we have 2 opportunities every month for all the students to have a chance to work together. One of them is called Classroom Connections. During that time for 30 minutes, classrooms get together of different grade levels and do an activity together. It might be a STEM activity or an SEL activity, but it really is a great opportunity for students to make friends across grade level and for the teachers to know every single student in our building. We really look forward to those. We also have community meetings every month on our early release days. And during that time, the whole school gets together and we celebrate student learning as well as really focus on our kindness. So some of our community meetings that we've done so far was in December, our brave kindergartners stood up and taught us all that they've learned in phonics, and they even performed their phonics dance. We got to learn a little digraphs and letter sounds from them. In January, our FLS friends came and taught us about beat and rhythm. They performed a song that they've been working on in the classroom. And we also were able to hear our kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Lee, read All Are Welcome. And in February, we had some amazing teacher actors volunteer their time to act out different scenarios. And the students voted whether it was a think it or say it scenario, meaning think it might be something you're thinking in your head that you should keep to yourself. And a say it is something that's kind that you can share with others. And then during March, we had 2 extremely well-disguised mystery readers read the book We Are in a Book by Mo Williams. And then the students try to spend the day guessing who they were. We did tell them at the end who it was. And we also had our 2nd graders stand up and perform the song 50 Nifty United States and show off that they could actually list every single state in our country. So it was pretty cool. Okay, so before you press play, I just had to add this because I don't think that anything I can show you up here or say at this podium can really embody how special this school is and how grateful I am to be able to be a part of it as a classroom teacher for the past 7 years and now as the interim principal. So I just wanted to end with a little snippet of a song that we play at the end of every single community meeting that we have. And it is a song that the students know by heart. So I just wanted to play it for you.
Kindness, kindness, oh, whenever you find this, you will see the world's a better place. Kindness, kindness, oh, whenever you try this, you could bring a smile to someone's face. Well, it doesn't take much, and it doesn't take long. No, it doesn't cost a thing, no, and there's no way to do it wrong. You can try it anytime, you can plant it where you want, and you can grow it in your heart, then give it out to everyone. Kindness, kindness, oh, whenever you find this, you will see the world's a better place.
So I invite you, if you have the opportunity, to come visit us. But I do have to warn you, we have a saying at Blue Point School, and that is once a Blue Pointer, always a Blue Pointer, whether you're there for a day or for 7 years. Thank you so much for your time.
Do we have any questions or comments for Ms. Diggle. Well, I didn't expect to cry seeing this presentation, so there's that. I know that it's difficult to come in mid-year as a new administrator, especially in your first time. So the fact that you're able to switch gears mid-year and join a leadership position and lead the school so beautifully is really, really a wonderful thing for us up here and for our families that really rely on you in the school for a safe space. And so thank you for all you've done. And this is just incredible. This is really lovely. So thank you for everything. You've been a wonderful addition and we really value and appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And I can attest to the fact I was at Blue Point this morning and I was meeting with Jillian and one of the pictures in your slides up there depicts Jillian like talking out the window to kids at recess. And that happened while we were meeting this morning. Knock, knock, knock. Here's some kids at the window and she opens it up and they're like, hey, there's a tree that we planted that fell down. And she's like, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And like, they totally knew that you would do that, right? But it was just a really great example of just how you're so naturally connecting with the kids there, which is just fabulous.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be able to expand from 16 kiddos to 182. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Agenda item 4.2 is our FY 27 school budget presentation. And so Ms. Kate, would you like to join us?
Hello, all. I'm going to start with a little bit of housekeeping. I have some paper, because you know I love paper. All of this stuff is online. But hey, look, that's good. For those who already have binders, because they were at a million meetings last week, many hours with us, I have replacement.
Kate, did you explain how to use a binder?
To the students.
To the students.
Is the technology that old, really? Come on. Now, these are really talented women here. These guys know how to, they can Google it. What's a binder? The pages that I'm handing out here, we went through some really awesome workshops last week with the board. We spent probably close to 8 hours together, and they already have their binders. And we made some edits following on that workshop. There was a slide deck and there was the binders, and we were kind of working together between the two. And we got some really good feedback about clarifying a couple things that were in the book, a couple things that were on the slides. So that's what this new paper is about. And all of those resources are now online in corrected, revised form. And the other thing I'm going to hand out for you folks is the budget motions for tonight. All right. I think that Dr. Netto may be interested in jumping in and helping me out a little bit here. I know you guys love to hear me talk, but there's a lot of data points in this slide deck, which I like to speak to the numbers and the process, and I'm not quite as confident in speaking to some of the data points around the operations in our schools. So I'm looking for my partnership here.
Good tag team. Happy to participate.
Awesome. So at first reading, which is where we are this evening, the Leadership Council's proposal is taken up by the school board. So this is the big handoff tonight. The board is going to vote to adopt the budget in first reading. And then the combined town and school budget will be presented on April 1st. At that point, there'll be a town council meeting in this chambers, and Dr. Neto and the town manager, Tom Hall, will present together the total municipal budget. Something that's very important to know is that first reading is the beginning of a long process. It's not the end of anything. Items in motion and adjustments, a lot of data, a lot of pieces of information that we're going to be gathering and needing and learning over the next couple of months. So we will be making changes. The school board finance committee and communications committee will be on top of all of these things and sharing information with the community. And the school budget proposal before it goes to second reading will be refined and adapted and adjusted based on all of these new pieces of data that we have and based on the deliberations of the town and the school department. So this is my first plug for the school department budget webpage. That's a live link in the slide deck. So if you're watching this or reading it later, you can go for it. If not, you go right to our school board page on our website, and you'll see the budget item. You click on that. All of the items that we have created so far are posted up there. And as we go through the various public meetings and discussions, all kinds of meeting documents will be posted. The calendar's posted there in a grid form so that you can see when each meeting is, what that meeting is for. And as we go through the process, all the documents related to those meetings will be attached in there. So one-stop shopping for everything you need to know about the budget. The other thing that's posted up there, and this was something new that some clever person thought of last year, is the video clips of the presentations, like the one that we just had from Jillian, from all the different school departments and school buildings. And I just love those little insights into what's going on in school. So that's right up there on the budget page as well. So you can pay attention to not just the numbers, but the reason why we all show up every day. So we are going to flip through some of the slides that the board has already seen, but I think it's important to do that in this context as the start of the first reading. And because we have a little bit different audience, I was hoping I'd get one athlete, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, so.
Someday.
So, again, the foundation of the budget is really brings us back to what is our mission statement in the district, right? And so you've heard us talk about this multiple times. We really exist to provide a safe and inclusive learning environment for every student to be a resilient lifelong learner and a contributing member of society. And so that really is the focus and the foundation of all of the work that we do. You have seen in the past 2 years that we've brought in a lot to these meetings to help clarify what that looks like, on a day-to-day basis in each of our schools. And so we're really proud to be able to share that work with you. Aligned, everything that we do aligns from that vision, from that mission statement, including our vision, and then the work that we do that aligns to 4 really strategic areas, including effective teaching and learning, safe and inclusive schools, global citizenship, and community engagement. So I'm not going to certainly read word for word off this slide, but I think it's just a reminder of that's our anchor. And so everything we do goes back to that. If we move to the next slide, as we were preparing the budget, our leadership team we have a great team that we work with. They're represented here tonight. They are our audience. We really do make sure that the things that we're attending to or spending most of our time doing are strictly aligned to our mission statement and to our goals. And so this year in particular, as the board set their goals forward, one goal in particular really resonated in terms of our day-to-day work, and that really is listed here. It's board goal 3, which is really around ensuring that we have sustained investments in instructional development across all areas. And And so that includes academics, student support, social emotional learning, and then attending to equity and inclusion for all students. And so that was a goal that the board set. And so we, as a leadership team, set the goals for our work in the buildings based off of that, right? And so what does that mean for our day-to-day work? And so each of our schools and departments really looked at, okay, so what does that mean for us? And what that really resonated for us was really around this idea of expanding this culture of inclusion for all learners by making sure that the resources that we make available really advance those practices and strengthen student supports across all areas for our kids. So as our team was putting together our priorities for this year's budget, we had really 4 things that we had in mind. The first was really on the refinement of what our MTSS structures look like. You've heard us talk about that, multiple times because that really defines what our work is. We also set a priority for really making sure that we are bolstering student data review protocols to inform instructional decision-making, right? We always want to make sure that we have an opportunity to look at how each and every one of our students is progressing so that we have guaranteed and viable support for all kids. And we're not just paying attention to those kids that individual staff members might bring up. We also feel really strongly about the work that we've done in the area of social emotional learning. And so we really feel like we want to continue to solidify that. And so that's reflected in our budget request. And then finally, really, as we look at instructional programming, ensuring that we have equitable programming for all of our students, right? So that's general education students, special education students, students in between all of that. And so that really was the foundation from which everything else that you heard us talk about in the budget workshops came from. These are numbers, Kate.
These are in fact numbers. So for anybody who's ever listened to a budget presentation from Kate Bolton, this slide is not a surprise, right? So every year we talk about the fact that personnel costs make up the bulk of our budget. This year it's 81.1%. It represents the cost of personnel, which is wages, salaries, and benefits, represents most of the increase in our budget this year, a little over $4 million. And it's a 7.1% overall increase over last year's budget. This year we have CBAs as collective bargaining agreements, which is contracts with most of our staff that are current and will be operating into FY26. So all of those groups that you see there have a contract for next year that already defines what their salaries and benefits will be as negotiated by the board in previous years. We are currently in negotiations with one of our collective bargaining groups, the education support professionals. So in that case, what we have in the budget is estimated projections as negotiations continue. For Anthem Health Insurance, that is the second biggest cost driver for us in our annual budget. Again, very common words from my mouth. This year, Diana and I were laughing. We budgeted for a 14% increase, which seems outrageous, but the maximum increase last year for school districts was 14%. Anthem has told us very kindly that we won't be expecting a budget increase any more than 14%. Yay. So that's what we chose to budget for. And that number represents $1.2 million increase in the budget proposal. Each 1% difference from what we have today on our Anthem bill represents about $85,000. So you can see that that's a pretty substantial change. And then the funny part was that Diane and I were kind of rooting for a 10% increase. Last year, we got a 10% increase and almost fell over.
Like, what do you think?
With
Can we get to 10?
deep misery. This year, we're like, hey, maybe we'll get 10. The maximum Anthem rate, they've told us it won't be more than 14%. The actual maximum rate, we should hear by the end of next week. The MEA Benefits Trust Board meets with Anthem and sets the top rate. The individual school district rates vary. And so those actual rates that Scarborough will be paying are supposed to be released about the first week of April, like probably by the 10th of April. So the good news there is that we'll know what our rate change is going to be instead of having an estimate in there before we get to second reading. So that's one of those big items in motion. The third item on this page is special services needs. Once again, not super surprising. We have had in the past 2 years quite a huge number of students coming into kindergarten, identified already with disabilities that require IEPs through Child Developmental Services, and that require us to provide those resources for the students as they enter kindergarten. This year, we're proposing 6 new ed tech positions. We have 3 positions that are currently unfilled in this year's budget that we propose to reallocate for next year. The actual need for kindergarten at this point is 9, but we're asking for 6 new positions. And then you see part-time positions for speech and occupational therapy, because these are services that will need to be provided to incoming students. And the caseloads that we have now don't permit enough hours in the day for the specialists that we currently have to fill those needs. This is another item in motion. It's a little bit of a moving target. We go into conversations, luckily I don't, but our special services team does, go into conversations with CDS and sit down and go through individual case files of students beginning in early April. And so again, between now and second reading, we begin to have a clearer picture of what our students, incoming students' needs are going to be, and how we're going to meet that budgetarily. But this is what's in the first reading budget.
So the next slide shows what our current special services data looks like for this year. Again, you know, as Kate said, you see that this is a major cost driver in our budget year over year. And so, you know, just as a data point to share with you, right, about 17% of our student population are students identified under special education. We have almost 12% of our students who have accommodation plans under Section 504. And at this point in time, about 3% of our students are MLL. And then a very small number of students who qualify as McKinney-Vento students because of lack of a secure home. So again, that is just an important piece of information to share with you in terms of, okay, so why are all of the needs, we have a lot of student needs to attend to. The next slide, again, as another point of information for all of you, speaks to the number of students who have been served by intervention to date during this school year. Again, you've heard us talk about MTSS for the past couple of years. Not only is it best practice to intervene with students at the earliest time, but we're also, it is also expected and required that we are looking to basically solve problems at the earliest time possible, right? So at those earliest points where we see that kids aren't making the growth that we expect them to, we have really solidified structures in place at all of our schools where we meet as teams to take a look at that data, identify students who might need some extra supports, and then put those supports in place. And this is well before any conversation happens around whether or not this, is a particular student who should be identified under special education. And so what we've found is we've had a lot of success bolstering our students' skills and getting them up to grade level without the need for special education services. And so you can see the huge number of students and at each of our schools and phase levels who are really benefiting from intervention and supports.
Yeah, and I would say that this ties directly to the need for good data and for good data review, because that's how you know who these children are and what support they might need in what area.
The next slide is about our federal grant funding. This was a question that started coming up last year, right? When we had change in governmental leadership, I think there were a lot of questions about changes that were happening in Washington, D.C. and decisions that we were hearing about changes in funding. And so last year we had included this information for you. And we felt like there are probably still a lot of questions about that at this point in time in the United States. And so wanted to kind of give you an update about how much of our budget is from federal funding. And so you can see that there are three major areas that we receive funding from. That funding is not a huge component of our budget, but yet it is. And so we get Title 1A and Title 2A, and then IDEA, local entitlement, which is special education funding. And so what we've been trying to do is really strategically place how those funds are allocated, right? So whereas historically we may have put people or positions into those funds, what we've done is we've tried to move away and make sure that positions are in our local budget and that things like materials and supplies are the things that we are trying to really look to have in those federal grants first. So that if there's a change in grant funding, that it doesn't necessarily rock the boat in terms of personnel.
Right. And I think that this is part of a bigger picture shift. In guidance from the Department of Education in Maine, they're saying, really, this is the way to go. You really don't want to be funding lots of positions in your grant for multiple reasons. One that worries us, of course, is the reliability of those funds. I've been doing this for a really long time, and this is the first time that we've said, gosh, I wonder if we'll get Title I. But that's what we're saying, right? So in order to make sure that we're not losing critical services and critical staff, we're making our best move at shifting. Now, the impact to the budget as it's presented tonight is an add of $42,000 over all of this because we're, as Diane said, shifting non-personnel expenses out of the local budget to offset. I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't know that we'll have allocations. We won't have, definitive allocations before second reading, but we should at least have some heads up about what's coming and maybe what's not coming. That will help us make sure that we're on the right track in terms of not losing anything that we think we're guaranteed to have.
So to peek behind the curtain a little bit and to describe, how does our budget process begin? What are the different components of that? Even before we get to level services, which is the next slide, one of the pieces that we've instituted for the past 2 budget seasons is an activity that our whole team takes part in, which we call taking stock, where we really start by looking at what are the current resources that we have in each of our schools. Who are the staff that we have? What are the responsibilities assigned to those staff in terms of students? And, do we see different needs popping up in different places? Are there opportunities to reallocate so that we're always looking from that lens of our student needs being met first, right? And again, this all goes along very well with everything that we talk about in terms of equity and inclusiveness, and making sure that all of our students have the same opportunity regardless of what location or school that they might be receiving their education from. And so it's not always equal, right? Because not every school may need the same number of supports depending on what students have for needs. And so we've become really fluid about, let's start by taking a look at what we have. Are there opportunities to meet some unmet needs within existing resources before we move forward? And so from that, that's our starting point. And then an activity and a project that we work on as a full team. And then from that, we break down with individual principals and directors and so on with our level services meetings. And so those are individual meetings with each of those leaders. And basically what we do is exactly what it's called. We take a look at what would it cost to provide the same level of service for the following year that we were able to provide this year. And so we sit with each of those folks. We take a look at here's what was budgeted for last year. This is what your spending is trending so far. Are there some big things coming up that we know explain why maybe there's a savings in a line or not? And in there, and whenever there's a place where it's like, oh, well, we budgeted for this, but here's what's actually been happening, we're making those shifts and those savings in real time when we have the opportunity to do that. And so this particular slide here shows you, what are those differences just in terms of level services. So before we think about adding a single new program or looking at a new staffing need, this is basically, speaks to what would it cost if we opened our doors on August 30th, doing exactly the same thing that we did this year. And so again, you can see that, doing the same does not necessarily cost the same because, the school portion of tax requests to have level services is almost 7%. And so as a result of those level services meetings and our taking stock activity, the budget that we had presented, that we're presenting to you, reduces funding from this year to the amount of $526,000 in personnel turnover and reallocation of positions. And then also just over 800,000 in multiple line items, right? Too many for us to list, because as I said, we meet with each department and every building individually, and we're literally like lopping off, amounts of money anywhere from $500 to thousands of dollars. But, because we are that diligent in really wanting to make sure that we are not, just keeping money in lines because it has been there before.
Right, recognizing that we are going to be increasing some lines that we aren't able not to, right? So if there's a way to offset that, we grab it.
Yep. So then this is our reduced services slide, and this really does play into when we talk about reallocating staff and how we can, what is an opportunity to redeploy staff to better align with student needs. Certainly, for example, if we think about last year's budget, we had redeployed a primary teacher from Pleasant Hill to Eight Corners to address some differences in class size and some student needs. And so you can see this slide here. We've, again, done that. And the reduced level services budget brings us down to just under 6%. And then we need to really make sure that we're also taking time to address those unmet needs. And how do we prioritize what those are? And again, what you'll see here is really going back to those priorities that we talked about at the beginning of the presentation with the budget, right? And so one bucket here is around meeting the required needs of incoming special education students. And you can see the costs associated with the positions that Kate talked about a few minutes ago. So 6 ed techs, a half of a speech and language therapist, just a little bit over a half of an occupational therapist. We're also taking a look at what are the needs of students and class size. And so at the middle school, you've heard Kathy talk about the real robust excitement around the middle school chorus, which was basically non-existent about 4 years ago. And now I believe that there are upwards of almost 130 students who are really excited about chorus at the middle school. Our choral instructor is a 1/4 position. And so for 1/4 of a person to try to come up with a schedule that can serve the needs of 130 students is just not a math problem that's doable, right? And so we have requested to increase that person to become a half-time choral teacher.
I was a little worried about how you
Right?
put that. He's actually a whole person. He's
Yes.
only here a quarter of the time.
Yes, but instead of being a 1/4 position, we're asking again for a conservative ask to make that a half-time position so that again, we can meet the needs of our students. We're really excited that we have a really strong fine arts program here at Scarborough. Our high school has done a good job. Jeff Mosier, had certainly come down and supported the middle school when they were undergoing some change. And he taught a class for us for a year. And we're really psyched to see what's happening for our students and the opportunities that they have. And so this is a way that we can build that interest out in that area more. We're also looking at reallocating a teacher, so at no new cost at Wentworth, to meet the needs of Gates students. Gates is gifted and talented, and we have really high requirements here in Scarborough about students meeting Gates. And even with those requirements, we have a much higher number of identified students than we typically have had. And so we need more support in the coming year to make sure that those students can receive the instruction at the level that they're prepared to. We also are adding some funding again. If you think back to the slide a few minutes ago when I was talking about federal funding and changing of funds, we currently have a position at 8 Corners, which is an interventionist position. It's funded by Title I, and our recommendation is to bring that into the local budget so that it is not at risk of going away if for some reason our Title I funding changes. We know that our students' needs continue to be great, and we don't want to have to miss those needs because of where we parked that in our budget. And then finally, you've really heard me talk a lot about our pre-K program expansion. Super excited about that. We're estimating the total cost of that to be about $427,000. But then, of course, you heard me talk about the reallocation of positions. And as we have taken a look at our current enrollment at all of our 3 primary schools and our class size policy, we have the opportunity in the coming year to reallocate 2 teaching positions to support the growth of pre-K. And so that offset really means that the overall net cost to add pre-K program expansion, which means an additional 64 seats, 64 more students, so that next year we could be providing opportunity to 80 students in the district. That is only going to be just under $200,000 for that 64 student expansion. And yet we will receive almost $700,000 in GPA from the state. And so this is not just a cost neutral ask, but actually an add in terms of state funding well above and beyond the cost of the program. And I'm really excited to let you know that we pushed that survey out just last Friday. So it hasn't even been open for a week. And we have 61 students whose families have indicated interest. And so we're really excited about that because I think that just reinforces the idea that there are a lot of unmet needs in our community and that this is something that we can do to help us grow.
Absolutely. I think I would just add that that new cost of the $200,000, that would represent 2 ed tech positions because you have to have 2 staff members in every classroom for pre-K. And so we have 2 teachers, but we need 2 ed techs. That's the model that we're using at Shooting Stars. And then the rest of the money is for materials, supplies, and all of the things that we're currently providing with our very small 1 classroom program kind of blown up into 2. So they're cost estimates, but I think they're pretty good.
Great. And so the final reveal, Kate.
Ta-da! The outcome that we see here is the budget proposal that the Leadership Council is bringing to the board tonight. As Diane pointed out earlier, there's a bunch of pie charts and things in the budget book documents, but this kind of breaks it out to show you where those expenditure increases are coming from. Obviously, the largest being in salaries, wages, and benefits, but it's kind of interesting for folks to know. And there's a slide a little further on that talks about the way that we spend our funds. This slide talks about the new investment, so above level services. New money that we're asking for this year, for all of the reasons that you just heard, represents 1.5% of the total general fund operating budget. General fund is the K-12 operating budget that the voters vote on in the referendum. Then reallocations drop us down to a net new investment of $617,000, which represents less than 1% of the general fund operating budget. So I think, that's an interesting statistic, right? Because we're not just adding things willy-nilly. This is some really targeted, really strategic adds that are either, critical because of law, or they're critical because of our local policies and needs and the needs of our students. This is another summary chart. This one shows the general fund budget. It also shows adult education and school nutrition. And all of these charts, you've seen a total, and then at the bottom, non-tax revenues subtracted out, and then the tax request. So the tax request for all of 3 of our operating funds is an increase of 7.93%. And this is where I say that is not the increase on your local taxes, ladies and gentlemen who live in Scarborough. That is the tax request increase to the town for the school department portion of the budget. And that goes into the municipal budget and is combined with town, education, county, all of the different revenue and expenditure areas that are made up in the municipal budget. And then the valuation increase is projected for the next year, and then the tax rate is set. So it's a very long spreadsheet. It's very pretty. Has lots of lines on it. They don't use as many colors as I do, though.
So again, one of the things that we just really want to impress upon you is where's Scarborough in relationship to others in our region? How do we allocate where our money goes, and where are we spending most of our funding? And so you can take a look and notice that, we are squarely in the middle of the pack in terms of spending. Falmouth is the highest spender in our region at just over $25,000 per pupil. Our per pupil expenditure for FY25 was right in the $22,000 range. And, you can see that, so we're kind of nested in the middle of the pack. One of the things that we really are proud of, though, is I think it's important to take a look at where you spend your money and what you're spending your money on. And so we are in the middle of the pack in terms of direct student instruction. And so 5th of 11 districts, we are 3rd of 11 districts in special education spending because of the needs of our students. And then in terms of students and staff support, we are 2nd out of 11 districts. These 3 areas I start with because in my mind, that is the work that we are here to do, right? Our charge, our responsibility is to really ensure the instruction of all of our students, both general education and regular education. And so, if we're going to have to spend some money, it's great to see that it is direct student facing. Also super proud to say that we are dead last in terms of spending on transportation and facilities. And we are also last in our region in spending for school and system administration. And certainly I know that, districts often get looked at in a couple of those last areas that I've defined. And people will say, why are you spending so much on these non-student things? And so I think this is just a good testament of we really do our due diligence to put together a budget that is absolutely student-facing and student-centered.
I'll just add to this slide that this is data that's published every year by the Maine Department of Education. It's one of the reasons why we have the voter categories under statute that are the same in every school district. So that you can say, well, we voted for regular instruction, we voted for guidance over here, which is under student and staff support, for example. When the districts actually go out and spend their money, they report their expenditures, and those expenditures are posted up for all to see. There's a 10-year chart in the appendix of the budget book that shows all of these districts that we're comparing ourselves with and what they spend in each of those categories. So if you're a real data geek, you can go play in there. This just kind of pulls out that information.
The next slide, again, is just a historical slide to help you understand what our budget revenues have looked like over time. If you take a look at the first slide, which shows you the percentage of our local budget that is funded by general purpose aid from the state. This year, we are coming out flat at 12.6%. As you heard me talk when we were considering what to do about pre-K, had we not elected to increase the number of pre-K seats, instead of getting an additional $698,000 in GPA, we would have received $11,000 in GPA. And so I think that is important to underscore because I think without that, you would see the second chart where the bar graphs are, there would be no bar for FY27 because we would be basically flat at last year's rate.
This is another one of the things I like to harp on, and I know this is one of Shannon's favorite topics. The State Department of Education is very proud to be able to fund K-12 education in the state of Maine at 55%, which is wonderful. It's a statute, and under the recent administration in Augusta, they were able to finally achieve that. So a lot of folks say, well, everybody's getting 55% of their budget from the state of Maine. So isn't that lovely? But that's not actually true. It's 55% of the total operating budget of all school districts in the state of Maine is put into the funding pot at the state level and then is distributed based on a chart of a calculation of the local community's ability to pay their share of their budget. Scarborough is a prosperous community with high valuation, and as a result, we're receiving 12.6% of our budget estimated, not 55%.
Correct. The last section of our budget is what we call the CIP budget. That is for capital projects and equipment. That really is intended for large scale investments and major infrastructure changes. And those things are bonded, or we use reserve funds, or they appropriate tax for that. And so 3 major areas that we look at in terms of CIP, and that is technology. And so, that tech refresh, we have all of our devices on a cycle for replacement. So that in no 1 year, we have to turn everything over. This also speaks to all of the wires and servers and all the changes that need to be repaired and upgraded over time, and pieces that we do for safety and security, like the installation or replacement of security cameras, making sure that we have enough everywhere, etc. We also replace 3 buses every year. I know that makes a couple of people on this board really happy. And so that is part of, I'm not singling anyone out here. Right. And so that's a regular replacement. 3 is the perfect number for us because we have a fleet of 30 buses. And so we do not keep our buses more than 10 years. We also, this is also where other district vehicles that might be needed, whether those are vans or trucks for our maintenance and facilities folks, et cetera. That's all included. And then facilities, which includes a whole host of things in order to make sure that we have upgraded facilities. And to that extent, Todd Jepson, our facilities director, and Kate and I spent some extra time together before this budget, really scouring what our building projects look like, and then what were things that were already in CIP, so that we could cull out some of those long-term projects that had been on our 5-year cycle, so that we don't have duplication of efforts.
Right, and looking forward as well to next year, saying, well, do we need to ask for money for this, or is it included in the scope of the building project? And, there are obviously many things included in the scope of the building project, but there are also many things that are not. There are, I would say that our facilities budget request for capital this year is lower than it's been in many years. And you can see the year's history in the account detail in the budget book, but there are still things that need to happen, right? So we don't want to let other areas deteriorate because we have this project on our horizon.
Exactly.
So I'll do the numbers. We break up capital budget into capital equipment and capital projects. Equipment is things like trucks and buses and machines, and projects is more like the roofing and the flooring, things like that. Our total capital improvements budget request this year is $2.3 million, just shy of $2.4 million. Funding sources for capital budget, we collaborate really closely with the town finance office to decide what's the most logical way to fund capital projects. In most cases, we use bonded funds, which is a way for governments to borrow money at a really low interest rate over time. And reserve funds, which again, close to Freya's heart, are funds that we have put away, this board has put away over the past 3 years, in reserve for capital projects so that we have alternative funding sources and we don't have to ask for taxes. We can ask for taxes. We can raise taxes for capital projects if they're small amounts, and it makes more sense to do that than to borrow money. But in this particular proposal, there's nothing in that area. So we don't expect this to have any impact. So we had to build another chart that has the same stuff in it. But this is really kind of what you're going to hear in the budget motions. What we're asking the board to approve, they approve the total expenditures, they state the offsetting non-tax revenues, and then state the tax request. So that's the way this is laid out. Items in motion. So here's a promise of the things that we're going to be looking at between now and second reading, which will come in May. We are going to be looking at Anthem. We'll also look at Delta Dental. We're waiting on the actual rates, as I said earlier, for those so that we can refine our estimates. We have other insurance premiums that we pay listed here, which I'll get more information on as we go through the spring. Special education costs. Again, Chris and his team will be learning lots more about the students that are coming into the district next year as we go through April. We're also in the middle of kindergarten registration. And as Diane mentioned earlier, the survey around pre-K, that's going to inform some of our thinking. So we'll be a little more clear on where we stand with those things. We won't likely have our actual allocations for federal grant funding, but I'm hoping for some forecasting and some, vague promises from the feds. And then we also continue to look at getting quotes and information from our vendors. One of the areas that's been a little difficult to navigate, I'm trying to say this politely, because I'm really angry about it, is the recent upheaval in our global economy again, due to some overseas events in the Middle East. I think one really cool thing I can say is that we locked in some oil prices that were really excellent. But the cost of equipment and services, particularly items that are shipped from overseas, tech devices, anything that's coming from outside of this country is going to be a little cuckoo. So we're keeping an eye on that. Here's a calendar, which tells us all about all the cool things that we're going to be doing over the next couple of months, all the way up to the referendum vote in June. And this is my second pitch for go to the budget portal. It's so great. I'm putting cool stuff on there all the time. There's also a town budget portal, which includes all of our stuff because our budget is like a subset of the town's budget. So if you're interested in the overall municipal budget, that's a great place to go for resources as well. And I think that's the story.
Thank you so much, Kate. So right now, just on the presentation, are there any questions for Kate or Diane? Out of two questions, out of curiosity, with insurance, are you able to go to the market away outside of the MEA?
Yes and no. We can go to the marketplace and ask for individual health insurance for the Scarborough School Department. The no of it is that it's really not economically viable for us to do so. MEA Benefits Trust does two things. They take care of all of our retirees for whom we do not pay insurance, but we are linked to them. And they also, what they call buy down the cost of the premiums. They have a trust, it's a trust fund, MEA Benefits Trust. They buy down the cost of the premiums so that what Anthem needs to get might not necessarily be what we need to pay. So economically, it's a really difficult system to do better than, particularly the retiree piece, because if we take ourselves out to market and we say, hey, Harvard Pilgrim, do you want to cover us? They'll say, well, what's your census? And our census is all the people that are covered under our current Anthem plan. And we skew really old because we have all those retirees on there, where if you went out for your company as a CEO of a local business, you wouldn't have all your retirees kind of hanging out there with the ability to put in claims on your same insurance that you're on today. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, do those
It's complicated.
retirees impact our rates every year? Because it's insurance,
Yes.
they do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a formula, right? So they're not like, it's not a direct one-to-one, but they're part of our loss ratio. They're part of our claims history. So yeah, we're not super attractive as someone who the insurance company is going to like come and say, oh, I really want your business. We're all old and sick and tired. Yeah. Present company included.
Yeah. And
Yeah, it was a big deal, Shannon. And the state actually passed a statute that said, first there was a statute that said we couldn't even go to the market. And then, 10 years ago or so, the state passed another statute that said that school districts were allowed to step outside this whole relationship between the state and Anthem and the MEA. And so everybody said, oh, cool, great, we're going to go out and find out. And we all actually, I had lots of meetings with insurance brokers. And at the end of the day, the town did as well. At the end of the day, we were like, ooh, I don't know. I think we're stuck, I'm not sure we're going to get a better deal anywhere else, and it'd probably be worse.
yeah, and I think across the board, I think all industries are seeing an increase in it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not a Scarborough problem
Right,
or
right.
or an education problem for sure.
Right. It's an across the board issue. And then about the computers and technology and the increasing and influx of increased pricing. Do we have a backup plan if perhaps we can't buy computers, new equipment that we would replace on a cycle anyway? Do we have enough to carry us through?
Well, I think what happens is it slows your replacement cycle, right? It's not like we don't have equipment. It's just that you want to be in front of the deterioration of the machine that you have today, so you want it to be traded out before it becomes problematic. I don't know an answer to that question. I mean, I think, some of the upheavals we went through with COVID, it was delays in shipping, delays in restocking.
We did end up delaying for a year during COVID because of that, right? And so I know, Jen has recently talked about that, right? And that you can see the wear on those devices is different. So, it's not that it hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
But I think we just have to go with what we can get accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's a worry if it were to continue. The roller coaster's a little nauseating. I don't like roller coasters. I like the kiddie rides.
Are there any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Just a general question. I know that, the majority of our budget is personnel, and special education demands are rising, and that is a personnel, intense part of the budget. So I'm just curious what you've seen in trends, from 10 years ago to now, and, projecting for the future, it's just, has it been climbing like this or steady? I don't know, just some thoughts from you, reflection on that, because I think that's a driver of one of us, or, sort of an expense we have a limited control over because we have to have these people and to meet the needs of our students and we have more of our special service students, the number climbing.
You're speaking in terms of the personnel needed to deliver those services, right? So, yeah, I think the past 2 years and looking forward again to this coming year, we have seen a big jump. And I'll probably get the numbers wrong, but I'm kind of looking at Chris so he can tell me. But at Wentworth School, our FLS program, Functional Life Schools program, has a handful of kids, right? 2, okay. At K2, our FLS program has 20-ish. 3 schools, yeah. Yeah. So that struck me when Chris was speaking about those numbers because, you're sort of going along and your kids are moving through the phases and then they graduate and then more kids come in. And it's generally, in my experience, been a cycle, right? You have high year, low year, but kind of you're kind of playing fairly evenly, right? And in these past couple of years, it's just been, every time we have a new incoming class, they've just got way more needs than what we've seen before. So I'm not sure I can answer your question about what that means. Is it a blip? Is it the new way we're going to be doing business? Is it COVID? Is it opioids? Chris, some of his colleagues are describing it as a public health crisis right now. And not having a crystal ball, I don't know if that's something that will continue or if it's, yeah,
Whether it will plateau or not.
yeah, I couldn't say. But it's definitely been different.
I think
in-
the
in recent years.
expectation from when we talked to Chris at our workshop that for me was a takeaway. You can't, those 19 kids that we have now will continue in Scarborough, right? And so their needs will continue through Scarborough, one would assume, right? That's the general expectation you have. And so if the trend of an increased need in a kindergarten class comes in, along with the 19 kids that are working through, right? You have to imagine those costs are going to continue to climb year over year, looking forward.
And then we're gonna have to take in, we're being mandated by the state to then assume also the special needs of pre-K students. So that'll be an additional,
Correct.
set of personnel we'll need.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly an incentive for us to work on the general ed pre-K that we've been trying to work on this year.
The only caveat that I would add about that is remember, when we take on our 3 and 4-year-olds, that is funding that is supposed to be at 100%.
Supposed to be.
Well, because didn't.
Well, this is a different kind of 1%, 100%.
The increase in mandating pre-K for
There are
general ed
funds in here
population.
that are not, no, there are funds in here that are not covered for sure. And things, if we needed to go out and pay rent and leases and things like that, we wouldn't be covered either.
No, we would not.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is when we do take on the 3 and 4-year-olds, that does give us the opportunity to do more early intervention. And one of the big increases that we've seen with the incoming K class are the number of kids who need speech, for example. And so if we are picking those kids up at age 3 or age 4, we have an opportunity to provide services to all those kids. And a lot of those kids now can't find services, right, because of the staffing shortages in CDS. And it also gives us the opportunity to implement our programming, right, for all of those kids right from age 3. So I think, there is some hard to predict, right, what the population will look like moving forward. But I think, as Diane said, with the combination of state funding for those IEPs for 3 and 4-year-olds, I think there's reason to be optimistic that we may be able to help bring some of those costs down as we move forward. So, yeah. No, that's it.
Hover around just in case.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? No? All right, thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you.
All right, agenda item 5.0 is public comment. General public comment. 5.1 is public comment. Is there anyone wishing to make public comment this evening? Is there someone online?
No, just Kelly.
All right, hearing none, we will close public comment. Agenda item 6.0 is continuing business. 6.1 is the second reading of the 26-20. Oh, I just noticed can we just correct? Thank you. 26-27 school calendar. Sorry, I didn't see that. And we'll turn this over to Freela.
So you may remember earlier, not at our last meeting, but the meeting before that, at the very end of February, we did our first reading of our calendar. We have not heard any feedback that has caused the committee to recommend any changes. We had the opportunity to do a meet and consult with our SEA representatives. They brought we had a robust discussion about some aspects of the calendar, but there was nothing in there that would suggest we should make changes to the days. Just as a reminder, there's two kind of pieces I think of in terms of the calendar. The first is sort of when the days are, which we are required by state law to align with our regional partners to ensure that students who are taking advantage of alternative programming don't miss days of school. And so we only are allowed to have 5 misaligned days. And so it really is less of a choice about what Scarborough would like to see the calendar look like, and more sort of like what is the negotiation between our partners that makes sense for the districts that meet their needs. The challenge this year, of course, is Labor Day being the 7th, which is extremely late, the latest day it could be in the month. And so that is why We were going to be tiptoeing back to school before Labor Day, which is not something that happens often in Scarborough. The other part of the decision really has to do with snow days and that policy. We have done a hybrid policy for the last, I think, 2 or 3 calendars. We had not really used the policy until this year with remote days. What that means is we have a set number of traditional snow days. And then after that, we have go to hybrid asynchronous learning days on those snow days. And that means that there is a for certain date by which the school year will end. We will not just keep adding days on to the end. I did not get any questions or the committee didn't bring any questions. So if there's any questions, I can be happy to answer them from the board. But other than that, this is the same calendar you saw at first reading.
All right, are there any questions for Freyla? All right, do I have a motion to approve the second reading of the 26-27 school calendar as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment? All right, would you mind calling the vote, please?
Ms. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom?
Yes.
Ms. Mauer?
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstar?
Yes.
Yep.
Thumbs up.
Ms. Charpinian?
Yes.
Mr. Penny Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Skeena?
Yes.
Ms. Claret?
Perfect, that shows unanimous. Thank you. All right, agenda item 7.0 is new business. 7.1 is the first reading of the FY27 school budget. Mitchell, do you want me to read this or do you want to take it? Are you good?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can read this. As we all heard, we heard a lot of budget numbers, and I'm just gonna throw some of the same numbers right back at you. We're looking to have a move of approval to adopt the Leadership Council's budget proposal as presented for first reading. The total general fund operating budget is proposed at $76,443,417 with offsetting non-tax revenues of $11,614,904 and a tax request to the town of $64,828,513. Total adult education budget is proposed at $250,101 with offsetting non-tax revenues of $114,222 and a tax request to the town of Scarborough of $135,879. The total nutrition budget is proposed at $2,603,104 with offsetting non-tax revenues of $2,603,104 with no tax request to the town. And then the capital equipment proposed budget is $1,105,000 with capital projects proposed budget being $1,269,000 and no more for a total capital improvements budget of $2,374,000. No tax request is expected for the capital budget.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? Any public comment? Okay, can we call the vote?
All right. Ms. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher?
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom?
Yes.
Ms. Mauer?
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstar?
Yes.
Ms. Charpinian?
Yes.
Mr. Penny Huff?
Yes.
Ms. Skeena? Ms. Claret?
Yes.
Perfect, that shows unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 7.2 is the first reading of policy KEB. Complaints against school personnel. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
So the policy committee was back at it this month, having a couple of meetings between last month and this month. We finished a review of KEB, that is general complaints against school personnel. And from time to time, we hear about people who are unhappy. And we want to make sure that it's very clear to them the steps that we expect that they take for them to resolve issues. It really does direct people to attempt to address issues at their lowest level because we would like to see people address the issues as they arise directly. And then if they don't get a satisfactory resolution, there's a process by which they can follow steps to escalate that issue. But really, it just lays that out. I want to be really clear that there are other policies that have to do with specific types of harassment or discrimination. This would not cover those. Those are covered by state statute. But this would be more about general complaints. It has a process that goes, again, from the individual up to a supervisor, eventually to the superintendent, and finally to the board if necessary for resolution. There's also a complaint if the superintendent is the individual that's identified as the issue not being addressed with, that would come to the board chair. Also, just to be clear, a lot of performance management issues that are HR type issues would not be addressed through this process. That would be addressed by a collective bargaining agreement, and those are confidential. And if they happen, they're subject. They're one of the few reasons that the board goes into executive session, and they're not public matters because they're confidential by statute. Happy to take questions.
All right, are there any questions for Kayla? All right, do I have a motion to approve the first reading of policy KEB, complaints against school personnel as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any public comment? I think we're ready.
Ms. Jacobs,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ms. Mauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstar,
Yes.
Mr. Arpinian,
Yes.
Ms. Trapani Huff.
Yes.
Ms. Ruskina,
Yes.
Ms. Claret.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That shows unanimous. Agenda item 7.3 is appointment of the adult education director, a part-time position.
Yeah, so I believe Yvonne is with us this evening. She's been diligently sitting back there. So I am really excited this evening to bring forward the appointment of Yvonne Wentz as our next adult education director. Yvonne has been selected to fill this position due to resignation, retirement actually of Mary Ann Doyle. Yvonne earned her Bachelor of Science degree in music and music therapy from Excelsior University and her master's in education with a concentration in middle level math from Walden University. She holds certifications in middle level math and administration supervisory, along with certificates from Equity in Education and the National Institute for School and System Leadership. Her additional education and training is vast. She has filled roles during her career in education to date as a classroom teacher, as a math instructional coach, as a math curriculum and instruction supervisor, as an adjunct professor at Wilson College, and also as a curriculum instruction and assessment supervisor. And additionally, for the past 3 years, Yvonne has been working with us in adult education here in Scarborough as the MLL coordinator and instructor. And so we are just thrilled to nominate Yvonne and have her take the lead with Mary Ann's departure.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the appointment of the adult education director as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Jacobs,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ms. Mauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstar,
Yes.
Mr. Arpinian,
Yes.
Ms. Trapani Huff.
Yes.
Ms. Ruskina,
Yes.
Ms. Claret.
Yes.
That shows unanimous. Thank you and congratulations. All right, agenda item 7.4 is the Wentworth School donation acceptance.
Yes, so in your packet, you'll see a memo from Kate about a donation to Wentworth School. And I need to kind of go backwards with this a little bit. Last Wednesday during the Wentworth School community meeting, Hillary Durgan, who is a library ed tech at Wentworth and also a former Scarborough School Board member, was named the Maine Association of School Libraries Support Staff Educator of the Year. And so this was something that she was totally not expecting. It was great to be able to witness. She and the lead librarian were doing a presentation to students and it got interrupted by this award. So it was pretty exciting. And the award really is around recognizing educational technicians who have made a significant contribution to their local school library media program. And Mrs. Durgan was recognized for the creative ways in which she encourages students to read, how she builds community, and the ways in which she supports students. And her award came with a $500 check to be used for the library. And so we respectfully request that this check be approved by the school board for the purpose of purchasing new materials to enhance the school library's collection. So really exciting.
That's very exciting. All right, do I have a motion to approve the Wentworth School donation as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment? All right, Ray.
Ms. Jacobs,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher.
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes.
Ms. Mauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstein,
Yes.
Ms. Turpinian,
Yes.
Mr. Penny Huff.
Yes.
Ms. Ruskina,
Yes.
Ms. Claret.
Yes.
All right, that shows unanimous. Thank you so much. Agenda item 7.5 is a backpack donation acceptance.
Yes, so also in your packet, you'll see a memo from Kate about acceptance of additional donations to the backpack program. So at the last communication that I had with the board on January 5th, our fundraising efforts for the school nutrition backpack program had reached a total of $20,311 for the year in cash donations. And then also we've received just multiple gifts of food and supplies in every school from students and families. Since that time, an additional $7,325 has been received, including one extremely generous $5,000 gift from John Hughes, a longtime benefactor of the program, who lives in the community. And so it is really, truly gratifying to see the continued commitment of our school community as they reach out to offer a hand to those in need. And we respectfully request that the school board approve acceptance on behalf of the school nutrition backpack program with many thanks. And so, you know, the back of the napkin math on this is about $27,600 and a little bit of change. So that is just amazing. And that is a program that 40 families, as you heard Peter Esposito in his budget presentation last week, 40 families benefit 7 days a week from this program. And so it's really phenomenal.
I couldn't resist coming up again because there were numbers and I had,
Love it.
and I have,
Your ears perked up.
I have a number that I want to share on this topic as well. And that's that there's almost 200 individual human beings giving these gifts, right? So some people have given big amounts of money. Some people have given as much as they could afford, you know, anything from $5 to $5,000. And, you know, it's the numbers of people who have stepped up that's really impressive to me as much as the numbers of dollars that we're receiving. Thank you, community.
Yes, thank you very, very much. All right, do I have a motion to approve the backpack donation as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment? All right, Ray.
Ms. Jacobs,
Yes.
Mr. Kelleher,
Yes.
Ms. Lindstrom,
Yes,
Ms. Mauer,
Yes.
Mr. Rockenstein,
Yes.
he said yes.
Yes.
Ms. Turpinian,
Yes.
Mr. Penny Huff,
Yes.
Ms. Ruskina,
Yes.
Ms. Claret.
Yes.
And that is unanimous. Thank you so much to our donors. Agenda item 8.0 is adjournment. With no objections, we will adjourn at 8:59 PM. Have a good evening. Thank you.